Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Criminal Justice Corner. Here at Criminal Justice Corner, we give you the real details surrounding the case, and just in case you find yourself in that same situation, we give you potential actionable advice so that you can potentially get yourself out of it. Today, I have with me a very special guest, Cece Robinson. Cece, can you please give the audience a little bit of background about yourself?
Absolutely. So I am a young adult dystopian author. I'm also an associate pastor at a local church here in Cincinnati. We're a multi-ethnic church. It's a very important detail for later. And I'm also the director of finance. I have too many jobs. Wife, mom of 3 Gen Z kids, all over 18, have an empty nest, theoretically, and a dog and a cat, and I love to be outside.
Wow. When they say moms and wives wear many hats, they weren't lying.
No, yeah, I've got like 36 jobs.
Wow. Okay. That's a really good number. I don't know if I have quite 36, maybe 35. I'll try to catch up to you one day.
You probably have more because sometimes there's always a kid who's just a little needier than the others.
And that'll tip it over to the
Yeah,
36,
tips
right?
it over.
That
Tips
tips
you
it
over to
over
40.
totally. I love that. I love that. Well, kudos to you for being a super mom. I love that, especially since we recently celebrated Mother's Day. So I'm gonna give you your kudos right now and your flowers because you deserve them. So hats
Well,
off to you,
thank
okay?
you.
Hats off, hats off. You deserve that. But today we're not talking about moms, even though they deserve all the accolades. Today we're talking about something super, super serious that happened in
Hmm.
Cincinnati, your hometown. And
Yes,
you weren't actually there, but since it happened in your hometown, you have a lot of information about it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yes. It happened really close by where I live. And Evendale, this bridge
Okay.
is a bridge between 2 ethnic neighborhoods, one
Mm.
predominantly white
Okay.
and one mostly not white, African American, a lot of immigrants, and adds to the interest. And a local neo Nazi group, not revealing their identities, they were hooded,
Ooh.
decided to stage a protest during rush hour.
I was just about to say it happened around 2 p.m. That's like
Yeah.
midday for most people. Some
Well,
people are like coming home from work. Some people are kind of going, so it's kind of like mid shift. But like you said, rush hour, like the beginning of rush hour for some, and you'd get a lot of attention if you're doing something on the
yes.
highway at that time.
And 5 is one of the heaviest shipping and travel corridors in the nation. It goes all the way north south from way up in Michigan, all the way south into Florida. And so 2 o'clock, everyone's trying to beat that rush. So it's actually sometimes heavier
Then
at two
rush hour.
o'clock than it is later. Yes.
So they knew what they were doing basically.
They knew what they were doing.
Okay. Then what happened?
Yes. So, of course, the first crime was that they didn't actually register their protest.
Oh, because that's
And
what you're supposed to do in your town.
yes,
Okay.
so this local Evendale municipality, you have to register.
Mm.
And this group did not do that.
That crime number one. Okay.
Crime number 1.
Got it.
Now, I don't know that it's a crime, but it feels wrong to me
Okay.
if you're going to exercise free speech not to tell us who you are.
I like that.
I really had a reaction to that. And I don't know if it's against the law. I don't know the law of Evendale very well. Obviously, I just know little bits and pieces.
Okay.
But that feels wrong to me. It feels wrong as a citizen
Okay.
in Cincinnati. If you're gonna protest, let's do it openly.
You're like, I want to know
You're gonna
who
exercise
you
free
are.
speech. Let's talk.
Yeah,
Let's
you're
talk.
like, I want to know who you are, John Doe,
Yes.
Jane Doe. Who are you? What's your issue? I need to be able to
Hmm.
Google you.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
But the second issue came because while the police responded,
Okay.
they were mostly keeping other people from interacting
With the protesters,
with the
even though
protesters,
they were not registered. So that
even though
should
they weren't
not have
registered.
been a thing.
So it ended up that somehow someone set fire to a flag and there was an assault.
So wait, which
So
side?
there's like a fight, a big melee going on.
But which side set the fire? The protesters or the non-protesters?
Think the protesters.
Okay, so
There's a lot of
allegedly,
there were a lot of varying reports
that's what I'm saying.
after
So
that.
allegedly, the
Yeah. I'm
protesters.
sure it's going into trial and everything. Like this was a big deal and there was an assault and probably multiple on multiple sides. I heard about the first, when we first heard about everything, it was only that one of the people protesting the protest, so local neighborhood people, that got arrested. But then afterward, it was like, oh no, someone else got arrested too. So there was some back and forth. Then it gets better.
Okay.
Because
I'm listening.
of course that night there was a prayer vigil on the spot, and a lot of religious leaders in the city came together, cross faiths, cross ethnicities, and prayed for healing and racial reconciliation. Peace. Overnight, a neighborhood watch sprung up.
What? In the same spot?
The same spot.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
This is an active
same
spot at this point.
Yes. So that neighborhood watch has continued off and on throughout the 3 months since then.
Right, because that happened in February 2025. Yeah. We're now in May, so it's still going? Off and on?
It's still kind of off and on, because this neo-Nazi group has continued to kind of drive through the area.
What are they're doing? What are they? Are they threatening? Are they still hooded? What are they doing?
Antagonizing.
Okay, that's what they're doing. They're antagonizing. Do they have signs? What are they doing? What do they have?
So they drive through. They are hooded. They've been viewed doing that, and then there's been just kind of insults hurled out. There's no signs because they're driving at these neighborhood watch people. So it's a very threatening situation, and it has seemed to become more sporadic the further out we've gone, which is good.
Yeah.
But there's still, like, I was in that neighborhood that was affected, mostly Laughlin, the other day, and there's still people, you can tell they're posted up on the corner.
The protesters.
The neighbors.
Oh, the neighbors are trying to prevent.
The neighbors are trying to protect their neighborhood.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because they don't want them to come back and one, probably intimidate the residents, and then two, again, stage another protest.
Exactly.
I think that's really brave of them.
It is.
I think it's really proactive of them. Like, I like that. It reminds me of 9/11. Remember how it was the planes, the terrorists attacked, and then they took down the planes, but then there was the last plane and the passengers fought back. That is what that reminds me of. And I applaud them for doing that. They were like, we will not be victims. This is our neighborhood. We're going to take back our neighborhood, and you're not going to win. So I love that fight in them. They're like, hey, this is our neighborhood. We pay taxes, mortgage, rent, whatever it is in that area, and you're not going to run us out of here. That's amazing. My question is, what sparked the protest to begin with? Was it just a here we come out the blue type of thing, or did something lead up to it?
So Cincinnati has historically been a powder keg for racial relations. We have had, it seems like periodically, race riots. Incidences, whether it's police brutality or just a neighborhood confrontation gone wrong or gang violence. There's a lot. So Cincinnati has had that historical problem. Like being a resident here, it just came out of nowhere. At least that's what it seemed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But it's always constantly brewing under the surface here.
I was thinking that too. So it's kind of like the elephant in the room type of deal. But this, somebody got the bright idea, let's spark this protest, didn't register it, and let's antagonize this neighborhood and just cause this little chaos right here. And maybe just to see how the people will react, because a lot of times that's how crime occurs. People will do things just to see the reaction. Let's see what the police will do. Let's see what the residents will do. Let's see how far we can go, how far we can push the envelope, so that we know what we can do the next time. So that happens. So I could see that being the thing here, and maybe they'll go to another neighborhood the next time. Let's hope they don't. I
think they targeted Laughlin, though, in particular, because of the immigrant population there. So there's been a lot of new immigrants, mainly from Mauritania.
Where is Mauritania?
Western Africa. It's in bad shape right now, and so there's a lot of refugees. And there have been quite a few of these refugees settled in Laughlin. Typically with new immigrant populations, one person gets a residence or rental, and then they're, invite their friends to come stay.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like an anchor family. And so that has happened in Lockland, and the community has embraced that, the Lockland community itself,
Okay.
which is good. It's gone through an adjustment phase.
Yeah.
And there's been some concerns about, rising crime in other areas. But really, at the end of the day, the residents are trying to work. These immigrants are trying to
Absolutely.
find jobs
Yeah.
and send money back to their families and bring their families over. And so I do wonder, is it a backlash against that? Is it a backlash against refugee populations or immigrants? But then also, there's just a story of just tension in the area anyway, ethnic tension already. So just layers on layers on layers.
And that makes total sense now that you put it that way. People antagonizing a certain population for one reason or another, but specifically because this population has moved into this neighborhood, the neighborhood hasn't embraced them. So now they want to make it difficult for everyone there. So that makes complete sense.
Yeah, but I don't think that the protesters, the neo-Nazis, actually lived in Lockland.
Right. So they came.
I don't think they're actually there. I think they're from elsewhere.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So they came from wherever they lived to disrupt this neighborhood because this neighborhood was embracing the refugee community and they didn't like that. So they're like, well, we're going to go disrupt where they live. And that makes absolutely no sense if you ask me.
I know it's I don't get it either. It's very narrow-minded.
Yeah, isn't it? That makes no sense. But I will say that you have a cool book that is out now and another book that will be coming out soon. Can you tell us a little bit about your book that's out now?
Yes. So the first book is called Divided,
which is totally on topic.
So just, conjecturing, imagining. Imagine our world, our nation, 45 years after we fight a civil war over racial issues. I know it's completely impossible and ludicrous to imagine,
off topic,
right?
From what we're talking about now. It's
completely off topic.
I hate that
and
we
not
had
at
to
all relevant
from what we were talking about, but go ahead, finish.
So we fight a civil war over racial issues.
Yeah.
And I set the whole thing in Cincinnati. So this felt very I know, I just had this
epiphany.
No, because it already been released. I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. It's not good. I don't want this to happen.
My book.
I was like, they need to.
Yeah.
So they don't do this.
Yeah.
So I wrote the whole series. The whole Divided series is meant to inspire young people to learn the skill of ethnic reconciliation, of cross-racial reconciliation and relations. That's a really hard thing to say.
Yes.
Relations. And I find so many times we are arguing in rows, like the rows of protesters against the rows of neighborhood.
Yes.
And instead we needed to be discussing around tables.
Absolutely.
That usually involves a meal. You can't argue while you're eating.
No, you cannot.
Well, you can,
no.
but
breaking
don't.
bread.
So that's why I wrote the whole series. And when Divided came out, I just knew that okay, this is almost like a call to the young people today to live differently than maybe people my age and older have lived.
Yeah.
And so Divided book 1 stars Marcos. He is he's a champion boxer. He's a Hispanic teen. He's 18 and he just wants to get out of the city. He wants to escape.
Okay.
His city, Queenstown, is bounded by walls and he lives in the Havana area, only his ethnicity. And you can't see over the walls. You can't go through the gates. So he's never even met someone from another ethnicity.
That's amazing.
Lived his entire life mono-ethnic silo. And his father is abusive and he's had it. So he figures out a way to escape. He does it.
I'm sure
jumps the fence, gets out.
That's culture shock.
Well, he's outside the city and it's completely destroyed. There's nothing. It's just the bombed out remnants of Cincinnati. And as he's trying to come back into the city, he gets caught. And he ends up in a secret and illegal labor camp because when you're a dictator, you get to do that.
Absolutely, you do.
And then while he's there, he's like, well, this is ridiculous. I'm not staying here. I escaped one wall. I can escape a barbed wire fence. This is easy.
Exactly.
And then he realizes, well, but wait a minute. This whole camp shouldn't exist. And so as you do when you're 18, you decide to take down the labor camp.
You do. You do.
You
see the bigger picture.
He joins a rebel movement called the Underground and meets all sorts of wonderful young people just like him, except not because they're different ethnicities.
Exactly.
and they work together, and it's beautiful.
Look at that.
Yes.
That is amazing and totally goes back to what you said at the beginning of
Mm-hmm.
your introduction about your church.
Yes.
I love that. That is
Yes.
amazing. And then you have another book coming out
Yeah.
soon. Let's talk about that.
So Caged is Rose's story. And Rose is from the Little Asia area, and she is a physics and math genius and gets selected for a very elite training program in nuclear and sonic technology. And little does she know, but she's going to discover, kind of realize some things that Supreme Commander Martin, the dictator of the Federated Republic of America, is up to. And she asks too many questions and gets herself kidnapped.
Wow.
So she ends up in a cage and she's got to escape if she wants to save millions of lives. No pressure.
Even a little.
Not
You
even
know
a
why
little.
it's no pressure? Because she'll probably have 36 jobs.
She's figured it out.
Yeah. Why wouldn't she?
And when I was writing, she was the one who said she had to go there. And I was like, are you kidding? That's dangerous. And she's like, put me in.
Yep.
Put me in, coach.
Because she's a woman.
And then she got out and she did it.
Because women are super. That's why she said
She's
that.
superwoman.
She is a
Yes.
super woman. Women can do it all. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. She sounds amazing. I can't wait to read the book. Like, she sounds amazing.
She is pretty.
Love that.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. So where can the listeners find your books? This one that's out and then soon to be coming out, Caged.
So all my books are available through links on my website, ccrobinsonauthor.com. And if you sign up for my newsletter list under the special invite, I have a free book for you. It is the post-apocalyptic prequel right over my shoulder. That's Upheaval right there. It's how we got into the mess, and features Moses and Julie, who reappear in both Divided and Caged. So it's super fun, and I welcome your listeners to join me in this. Maybe it's a movement.
I love that.
The movement to learn the skill of race relations.
I love that. And for all of the listeners, I will have the link for the newsletter and then the free book that connects that. I'll have that in the description box on YouTube. And for the Alive Podcast Network people, you can go to the description box and it will be there. That's amazing, for the record. And I want to say thank you for that for all of my listeners. I'm sure they'll love it because we have a lot of movie buffs and book buffs, such as myself, in the listening audience. So that's amazing. And thank you for that in advance. And
welcome.
As always, I love to leave my listeners with takeaways. This topic is so relevant to today's society. What would be a good takeaway from today's discussion?
As hard as it may seem to get to know someone who doesn't look like you, if you don't do it, we're going to end up in a worse situation. So it's worth the investment of time and effort working through the misunderstandings and the cultural miscommunications, because they're going to happen. Just embrace that ahead of time.
Yeah.
You can do hard things.
I love that. My takeaway from today is going to be to not judge a book by its cover. Just because the media is painting us a person, subgroup, people from a different country, a different nationality in a certain way, that does not necessarily mean that it's true. So take the time to get to know a persons for yourself, and then you make that decision for yourself. Don't let somebody else make that decision for you. So that's going to be my takeaway for today.
I love it.
Yeah, because it happens. We see something on the news and we're like, that's it. And
Yeah.
I'll give you a prime example. The weatherman says, it's going to rain today. I'm going to put on my rain boots. I'm going to put on my raincoat. I'm going to put on my hood, and I'm bringing my umbrella. And I'm going to go outside. I'm going to be outside all day and not a drop of rain. You know why?
Yep.
Because I listen to the weatherman.
They're always wrong in Cincinnati too.
Isn't that a prime example? That is
Yes.
like a prime example, because I listen to the weatherman. That is like the best metaphor that I can give, because I listen to the weatherman. I judge the weather based off of what somebody else said. And where did that get me? Ready for rain, and there was none. So that's going to be my takeaway for today.
Love it.
I want to thank you so much, Cece, for being my very special guest today. This discussion was so needed, and I hope the listeners was able to take away so much valuable information from this whole discussion and your books and our conversation about the crime that's going on in Cincinnati. And hopefully we can dissipate that really, really soon. And hopefully you'll come back soon and talk about your book when it comes out, Caged. I would love that.
Yes.
And I want to thank the listening audience. And please tell a friend to tell a friend about Criminal Justice Corner. If you have not already done so, please like, subscribe, and share. And I love comments. So please leave a comment below. Tell us what you liked about this episode. And we will see you on the next episode of Criminal Justice Corner. Thank you.